Tonight we're going inside one of India's most notorious prisons, Delhi's Tihar Jail. But we're not talking about the kind of justice you'd find in a courtroom during the day. No, we're investigating a legend, the story of a very different kind of court, one that convenes in the dead of night, long after the official halls of justice have gone completely silent.
See, by day, Tihar Jail is exactly what you'd expect, a fortress of law and order. You've got high walls, electrified fences, and a constant, unblinking network of cameras enforcing a super strict routine. But the legend says, when that clock strikes 2 in the morning, all that order just dissolves. The entire atmosphere of the prison is said to shift. For some inmates, time isn't just measured by their sentence. It's measured by those chilling moments that tick by, leading up to 2 a.m. And that's when this so-called other court supposedly convenes. It's a really chilling idea, isn't it? A spectral trial that operates on its own mysterious rules. A place with no lawyers, no judges, just the trapped echoes of those who came before.
So, where do we even start with a story like this? Well, our first stop is barrack number 6, the women's cell. The inmates there reportedly live in this state of constant, quiet terror, praying for a transfer to literally any other part of the jail. Let's dig into why. The reports from this barrack are just incredibly specific. They say it all begins when the air turns ice cold, right around 2 a.m. The story is tied to the spirit of a woman who died in that very cell, apparently maintaining her innocence right up to her last breath. And every single night, a piercing scream is said to just shatter the silence. And for those who claim to have actually seen it, well, the description is terrifying. They talk about a white shadow, but with these disturbingly clear details. A half-burnt face, hollow eyes. It's said to appear in a corner before crawling just unnaturally up the walls. So this brings us to this really crucial unwritten rule that gets passed down from prisoner to prisoner. It's almost like a 3-step survival guide. First, you hear the scream. Then, you might feel a presence, sometimes described as a crushing weight on your chest. But the final, most important rule is this: you must never, ever open your eyes. But believe it or not, the stories don't even stop in Barrack 6. The legend actually gets deeper in an even more feared location. Barrack 3, the old execution block. Even the prison guards are said to absolutely dread the night shift here. This whole area has this old British-era architecture, which just adds to the chilling vibe. But the experiences people report go way beyond just a spooky atmosphere. Staff and prisoners both talk about hearing soft sobbing that suddenly just erupts into this hysterical laughter. Cleaning crews have reported feeling the weight of invisible footsteps walking right beside them. And maybe most disturbing of all, some claim to see the silhouettes of executed men still swinging from the rafters. So what do the inmates think is going on? Well, they have their own theory. They believe these spirits are trapped. They're unable to find mukti, or liberation, because of the violent and unjust way their lives ended. It's a pretty tragic explanation for what seems like a never-ending haunting. Okay, but for every ghost story, there's always a skeptic, right? There's often a scientific counter-argument. So is it possible that this 2 a.m. terror isn't paranormal at all, but just a product of the human mind under extreme distress? Let's take a look at the rational explanations. All right, first up, there's this phenomenon called phosphine flashes. The extreme stress and high blood pressure so common in a prison environment can literally affect your eyes. This pressure can cause the retina to create its own images. And weirdly enough, they often appear as faces in the dark. This could be a totally logical explanation for seeing the woman with the half-burnt face. And what about those physical sensations? That feeling of being pinned down? Well, science has a name for that too: sleep paralysis. The sensation of some invisible figure on your chest has a direct scientific parallel. It happens when your brain wakes up before your body does, while you're still in that natural state of paralysis that stops you from acting out your dreams. The feeling is terrifyingly real, but it is a known medical condition. So, okay, these scientific theories, they sound pretty compelling. They seem to explain the individual experiences of seeing faces and feeling that pressure. But here's the thing. There's one enormous detail that these theories really struggle to account for. And this is the real heart of the mystery. Phosphine flashes and sleep paralysis, those are deeply personal, individual experiences. So how? How is it possible that hundreds of different people in different cells, separated by thick stone walls, all report hearing the exact same scream at the exact same time, night after night? And this leaves us at a crossroads, really. We're left with a choice between two profoundly different realities. We have to decide which explanation is more plausible, or maybe which one is more terrifying. Is this all just a mass psychological event? Are these simply those scientific triggers we just talked about, but amplified in minds that have been broken by the brutal weight of isolation, guilt, and fear inside those prison walls? Or is this something else? Is the 2 a.m. court real? A terrifying, spectral gathering of souls, still trapped, still crying out for justice, and a final hearing that for them will never come? That's the question Tihar Jail leaves us with.